Welcome to Around the Horn on FantasyAlarm.com. I'm your host, Ray Flowers. Well, before I get to the baseball talk, actually, let me pause for a moment. See my little sticker here? I voted. You should vote too. One of the greatest gifts we have in a democracy in the United States is our ability to vote. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican or Independent. If you agree with me or you don't agree with me, go out and vote. Exercise your right. The founding fathers of our country, the people that fought for our country and our freedoms, gave their lives in many instances for this right. Go out and vote. Do your civic duty. Every vote counts. Let's talk about some baseball now. Qualifying offers, what are they? A little background on what a qualifying offer is. Top 125 players in baseball. Salaries are averaged together. You find out the average. This year it's $15.3 million. That is the level of a qualifying offer. So what does a qualifying offer mean? Let's put it in real world terms. The Giants can't work out a long-term deal with Pablo Sandoval. They don't know what they're going to do now. So they extend a qualifying offer to him, meaning they're saying, Pablo, we will pay you $15.3 million for the next season. Pablo Sandoval then has two options. One, he can accept the offer and say, I will take that. I will play 1 year for $15.3 million. Or he can say, I'm not interested in that. I'm going to try to negotiate. At that point, Pablo Sandoval is a free agent. He can negotiate with the Giants. He can negotiate with anyone he wants. Fair option for the player. The problem for the player, and this has been something that's plagued all the players the last 2 years, is that when a player is extended a qualifying offer, the player turns down the qualifying offer and becomes a free agent, he now has draft pick compensation tied to him. Let's say the Oakland Athletics want to sign Pablo Sandoval. They sign him to a 5-year contract for $100 million. They're not only responsible for paying that contract to Pablo Sandoval, they now owe the Giants a draft pick because they signed Sandoval. There's the problem, there's the issue, there's the rub. Teams don't want to give up a draft pick to sign a player. Why? The pick they have to give up is the top pick in the 2015 draft. Now, the top 10 overall picks in that draft are protected. So if you have one of the first 10 selections in the entry draft, those are safe. It just becomes your next pick that's voided. But if you have anywhere from the 11th pick on, you have to give that up if you sign a player that has turned down a qualifying offer. Very difficult for the players to find movement. Lots of guys, I mean, think of Nelson Cruz, Stephen Drew, these guys last year that had to wait an awful long time before that compensatory pick was tied to them to dissipate before they could sign with clubs, or had to end up taking much lower offers than they expected because teams were just unwilling to pay the big bucks to bring them in. The situation is such that it becomes very difficult for players to move if the teams extend them a qualifying offer. One of the players that was extended a qualifying offer, in a bit of a surprise move, was the Rockies' Michael Kadire. Kadire can hit. No one's disputing that. .331 batting average, a .940 OPS the past 2 seasons. The Rockies extended him that 1 year, $15.3 million deal. What does this do? It almost certainly means Kadire's going to take the deal, I would assume. Because other teams, like the Mets, that were rumored to be very interested, they're not interested in giving up their first pick to sign an elderly player like Kadire. They're still looking to build. So, Kadire also, by the way, he's 36 years old in March. Last played 140 games in 2010. 105 games less than that, 2 of the last 3 years. I don't know why anyone would want to sign him to a long-term big money deal anyway. Very difficult. Very kind of odd, actually, that the Rockies would do that. Kadire probably takes that deal, and good luck with that, Rockies. Hope he stays healthy. Let's talk about a couple of Phillies now. No qualifying offer, but 2 contract details to discuss. A.J. Burnett, $12.75 million option. He turned it down. He said, no, I don't want that. Now, the Phillies are probably going, whew, we don't want to pay this guy $13 million almost in 2015. Burnett said no to the deal because he wants to play for a contender, and he doesn't think that is who the Phillies are right now. So what does this mean for Burnett? Free agent. He can sign with anyone he wants. Any team he wants in baseball. There's still things to like with Burnett. I mean, he had a 51% ground ball ratio last year. He had, 213 innings pitched. He's gone over 185 innings pitched 7 seasons in a row. 7 of the last 8 years, he's had 170 strikeouts or more. The issue last season for him, as it's been many times in his career, was a lack of control. 4 batters walked per 9 innings. If he can bring that down, he's shown himself to be very durable. He gets strikeouts. He still generates grounders. A.J. Burnett actually could be a decent short-term signing for someone, maybe a 4th or 5th starter type, and be a decent option in the fantasy game depending upon where he ends up. Guy who probably isn't going to be a decent option in the fantasy game, and a guy who probably isn't going to get traded from the Phillies, is Ryan Howard. Now, when Ryan Howard signed his massive deal, I said, mistake, idiotic. Turning to be totally the case with Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard, 23 home runs, 95 RBIs last season. If you're paying a guy $8 million for that, you can take it at first base. What happens when you're paying that guy $25 million? Yeah. Ryan Howard, who had a .690 OPS last year, is scheduled to make $50 million the next 2 years. He then has a $23 million option the following year, meaning he could conceivably get 3 years, $73 million. Now, we know he's not going to get there. The Phillies aren't going to pay that $23 million the third year, but they are on the hook for $50 million the next 2 years. He then gets a $10 million buyout. So the bottom line is they owe this guy $60 million for the next 3 seasons. What do they get with Ryan Howard? A guy who hasn't had 790 OPS in 3 seasons and a guy whose mark was under 700 last year. Terrible mistake for the Phillies. The only way they can possibly trade him is if they eat 2/3 of that contract. Very tough to see them doing that. We'll have to wait and see. Finally, let's talk about the Rangers. All kinds of Rangers injuries, all kinds of big-name players with the Rangers. Shin-Soo Choo, ankle issue, operated on. Should be fine for the start of next season, looking to redeem himself. A horrific first season with the Rangers. Still a guy who can hit 290, 300 with that 2020 potential. Positive news to this point, he should be okay. Let's see if he can perform in 2015. Prince Fielder, terrible season. All the guy did was play every game, year after year. All he did was hit 25, 30 home runs, driving 100 runs. Nothing like that in his first season with the Rangers. The good news is the surgery that he had on his neck, C5 and C6 vertebrae were fused together. The good news is he's already swinging the bat. Everyone's very pleased with his progress. They expect him to be at full strength for the start of the regular season. The third guy is Jurickson Profar. Everyone's favorite guy, Jurickson Profar. Lots of talent, bright future, if his body doesn't betray him. Multiple issues with his shoulder, had to be shut down in 2014 because of it. MRI tests say 95% recovery in the shoulder. They're feeling very positive about that. At the same time, they're going to hold him out of any baseball activities until January to make sure they give that shoulder some time to heal because of the multiple setbacks they faced in 2014. Star is still bright with Profar, but after all the injuries and basically a totally washed out 2014 season, you shouldn't be as excited in 2015 as you were in 2014 about Profar. Immense talent. We'll have to see if he can stay healthy and on the field to be productive in the fantasy game. Don't forget to vote. I'm Ray Flowers. It's Around the Horn. Don't forget to also visit us at FantasyAlarm.com. We got everything you need. Baseball coverage, basketball coverage, football coverage, the daily fantasy playbook, everything you could possibly want for daily games, for season-long games. Fantasy Alarm is the place to be. I'm Ray Flowers. Talk to y'all again soon.